Hi, in this video I'm going to be taking you through what I consider the beginner foot placement techniques that you'll use in climbing. Those things that are really important to get right from the start of your climbing. And these are going to underpin a lot of how you use the lower body, so the extremities, all that power and weight that you get through the lower part of your body. And you can do drills on these, you want to practice these, and you really want to refine these over the years. So don't expect to perfect them within just a couple of months. This is something that you're going to work on all the time. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to run through from the front of the foot, so the sort of the toe area, through to the middle of the foot, through to the heel. So we're going to cover the full length of the foot and the techniques that we use for that. So let's get started. Two areas or two techniques within the foot that you probably are going to be watching this and thinking, why has Tom not talked about this? Which is how we use that outside edge on the foot, inside edge, or the top of our foot for toe hooks. I'm not going to be discussing in this video, but you can go and watch our intermediate foot technique video, and you can go and see what I'm doing with the outside, inside edging and toe hooks in there. Right, first up, what we want to look at is essentially what's the effective part of the toe and where you want to place your foot on a hold. And I call this the power point of the climbing shoe. And it lies really along the length of your big toe. So all the way from the tip of your toe and also a little bit down the side of the big toe. And this is the area here where you want to place this on the hold. So you'll see a lot of people when they initially come to the walls, they just want to plonk their feet in a really comfortable part of the foot, so right in that midsole, whether it's something small like this or a big jug like here, they just put their foot right in the middle of the hold. And this is not the right way to do it. We really want to place it on that power point. And I'm going to show you a reason why we want to do that, just in terms of movement and progression up climbs. So if I take this hold here, down here, a little small edge, and I'm going to place my foot on it. In a lot of circumstances, if I just place my midsole on it, that's actually, in a way, a bit more comfortable, and it's nice and easy to use that. But if I then move off that hold and I rotate my foot across, it's going to slip off. So you can see how if I rotate my ankle out, it comes off. The same up here is if I rotate my ankle out, I slip off it. So I'm going to place my toe on that edge so I can then rotate and I've got flexibility around it. So on this hold here is where I place that power point underneath the toe, I weight it, and then I can bring my heel all the way around and I'm still on that hold. So I can go all the way around and rotate on that hold. Same further up is that here I've got my heel relatively close to the wall. I can rock in, I can bring that heel round and I'm still on that hold. Whereas if I put it right in the middle of the hold, in the instep, I'm rotating off. So it's super important to get that power point right on the tip of the toe on that hold. You have a lot more versatility. I'll show you another kind of example of it, of why it works really well as well. So if I place my right foot right in the middle of that hold, feels really comfortable, and then I come through on it, you can see I slip off. So I'm rotating on myself off that hold. But if I position it so that I come through and I'm on that power point, so the toes on it, and I rotate through, I stay on, take my hands off, it's really comfortable. And that feels really, really good. So power point, be accurate and get it on that point. Next fundamental technique that I think you all want to have a look at, and again, spend a lot of time practicing and getting right, is the difference between edging and smearing. And what I mean by the edging and smearing is the contact point and how you use that power point or the front of the foot on a hold. Edging is all about using a very limited space on the front of the hold and really kind of cranking in on a minimal amount of rubber, whereas smearing is all about getting a large contact point typically. I mean, it can be done on small areas as well, but typically a much larger contact point on the shoe. And the key differences between those two is that when you do your edging, you want your heel high or flat relative to your toes. So in a position like this or a little bit higher. on your smearing, you want that heel to be much lower so that you're dropping all that contact area on the rubber there to get loads of contact. So if I show you on this volume here, which is a perfect example of how to kind of demo this, and you can see how it happens in practice. So my edging hold here, little flat, kind of positive small hold, it's on flat terrain here. And when I place that foot on it, so I'm bringing the power point of my toe in on it, and then when I stand on that hold and I weight it, you can see that I'm bringing my heel, not even flat, actually a little bit raised here, so I'm really putting the force through that toe, and I'm not dropping that heel right down. In fact, as I dropped my heel down, I almost felt like I was going to start to slip on it. So those edging moves, you want to keep that heel flat and somewhat raised. The great thing about having that power point on the hold there as well is that I can very easily push up from that ankle and flex in the ankle joint to actually get higher up the wall as well. If I had just the middle part, the insole of my foot on that hold, I have very little extension in terms of height. So another good reason to use that tip, that power point of the foot. Okay, in contrast is our smear. So we talked about having that heel really low and loads of rubber content. So here, nice big flat volume, no edge on it whatsoever, really hard to hold in that. And what I'm not going to be doing is trying to have that heel same level as the toe and trying to weight that, hardly any rubber contact, and I'm just going to slip off on that. In fact, I'll try it for you and see if it works. Actually, I can't, it's too painful. It's just hideous. Yeah, it's just horrible. So what I want to do is I want to drop that heel and really get loads of rubber contact, and then I'm really comfortable on that. Actually, the more that I sit down on that hold and weight it and get loads of rubber, the better it feels. If I start to raise that heel, yeah, it's okay, but it starts to feel more strenuous, harder, and I'm getting a little bit of creep out of that rubber as well. So typically when you see people start to climb, is that they keep those heels high and they want to maintain tension and feel secure on their feet, but actually relaxing and dropping the heels, getting loads of rubber contact is utterly critical to getting that big flat smear working. Next part of our foot that we can look at is that arch, so the middle section of our foot. And it's one that you have a lot of beginners trying to use in the wall, whether they're standing on a big flat hold or a jug as well. Classic example of that is here on the wall behind me, where I've got this big volume on the wall, and you will see people trying to put their foot plonked right in the middle of that hole, because they'll go, oh, well, I can kind of get my heel on it, I can get the middle of my foot, it's really supportive, I can use that. And it's just awful. There's no sensitivity on it, you can't move off it, you can't rotate, you're totally limited in terms of how much you can smear in it, you can't drop your heels, you can't move up from it. It is a disaster. Do not use the middle of your foot under, I would say, almost any circumstance in climbing. Yes, 0.001% of the time, maybe there's some unusual stuff for it, but don't you do it normally. Onto the other part of our foot, we're going to be dealing with the back end of our foot in terms of techniques. So this is going to be all about heel hooking. I think this is one of the foundational techniques that you're going to be using. I'm going to move on to things like heel plants, heel rolls in the intermediate video, but at the present, we're going to talk about heel hooks. And when you get your climbing shoes and you're looking at them, I think it's actually quite important to have a note of how this heel rubber is constructed in the back of your heel, because you'll notice that often in the shoe construction, there's these ridges that occur, and they can be at different heights. And it's actually pretty important on a technique that I'm going to show you in a minute, and how you use this little ridge on the back of your foot. It's a nice little technique that you can use to almost kind of cheat and make some of the moves feel a little bit easier. But first off, let's have a try with the heel hook on the wall and talk about what makes a heel hook work. So I've got this yellow problem behind me, which is kind of like a compression style problem, and I've identified that I'm going to be using my heels on it. Now, we've got a nice kind of open hold here, which I think is going to work really well with the heel, and I want to create tension on it. So I need to think about plenty of rubber contact again on the heel. So I'm not going to be aiming for the edge of that hold and kind of trying to edge on the heel. I want to get that heel right in on the hold and get lots of contact area to apply force. But if you look at how you apply the back of your heel to that volume, you'll notice that if you imagine your imaginary leg that sticks out of here, your knee is going to be going way out from the wall. If your knee is way out, probably your hips are going to be far out as well. So we really need to think about our body positioning when we're applying those heels on the wall. So if I get on the wall now and talk you through how we're going to move our hips around to find the most efficient ways to move into the position, but then also engage on the hold as well. Okay, so when I pull onto this problem, I'm going to be having left foot on this smear down here, and I'm going to apply my right heel in this hold here. Now, when I first do that, in a way, the most comfortable way to do it and to place the back of the heel is to do it like so. But you can see my hips are really far out from the wall, which means it's quite strenuous in terms of my arms and how I'm placing on the wall. So what I'm going to try and do to help that and stop my hips being so far out is I'm going to really rotate and move around my hip and knee joint so that I can quickly transition into a pulled in position of the wall and not sticking really far out. So if I do that, I'm going to move onto the problem, heel goes in, but as soon as that heel is positioned there, I'm going to quickly pull in and bring my knee in and my hips in closest to the wall. I've got loads of tension now between that heel, that foot, and the other hand. Yes, I'll have tension here as well, but my hips are really far out from the wall. So I want to be pushed right in, so then I can come up to that next hold. One point to note is that when you're in this position here with your heel applied and you've got your tension, is you do need to make sure that your hips, so your center of gravity, that line of center of gravity, is reasonably far away from that heel that you're using, because you'll lose tension out of it if you move too far towards it. So if I move my foot right over here, I completely lose tension out of my heel. So I must hold back and create tension out that heel, really working the back of my hamstring there. So do you remember how when I was introducing this section about heel hooks, we talked about this ridge that happens on the back of your heels on some of the shoes, and some models will have ridges even further down than this one, is we can line that ridge up with really kind of sharp-edged, either hook, horn, kind of mini jug style holds on the wall, and we can hook that around the edge of that hold. And if you get one of these, this one isn't that amazing for it, but I can still demonstrate it. But some of them are so good that you almost feel like you can't get your foot off afterwards. And I've seen people take 2-3 grades off moves just by using this little trick. And it's very, very simple to do. If you just look for the edge and then line it up with your hold, and you can just hang off the rubber essentially. Okay, so line that edge up on the back of that hold, hips in, come through to that move. So on that, really working that rubber in my advantage and getting the body position just the same as before. So hips into the wall, cranking on the back of the hamstring on it. Your bum isn't sticking way out from the wall, and you're really using that mechanical advantage to make that move feel a lot easier. So with those foundational foot techniques, those beginner techniques that you're going to be using and really practicing, don't forget to work right from the front of the toe through to the heel. So you're getting that power point just right, learning how to edge and smear with that contact. Middle of the shoe, really just a no-no. Avoid that midsection of the shoe. And then the heel, think about plenty of contact area where those hips and knees lie, and then really applying plenty of tension with lots of rubber contact, or that little trick that I showed you where that edge is on the back of the shoe and hanging off it. Don't forget that we have another video out in the series, which is intermediate foot techniques. Go and check that out if you want to look at things like inside edging, outside edging, toe hooks, heel plants, or heel toe hooks.